with this breakdown. In verses 1 through 5, it talks about death comes to all. And so in verses 1 through 2, we can observe that the righteous and the wicked, the good and the bad, they all share the same fate. So in verse 3, we see the sameness feels evil. It makes people live carelessly or with madness. And 4 through 6 talks about the living have hope, but the dead know nothing, feel nothing, and are forgotten. So, from a human viewpoint under the sun, death levels the playing field. Even good people can't guarantee a better earthly outcome than wicked people. And yet, while we're alive, we still have opportunity, memory, and emotion. Gifts that end at death, basically. So how do we respond to the idea that both the good and bad die alike? Are we living like someone with hope among the living? What legacy of faith are we building before our time ends? So the next section in verses 7 through 10 is about enjoying your life now. So verse 7, go and enjoy your food and drink. God has already approved it. So verse 8, dress well and stay joyful. Enjoy your wife or spouse and your work. It's part of your earthly portion. And in verse 10, do what your hand finds to do with all your might, because there is no action after death. And so this means that this is a call to contentment and gratitude, like as simple joys that are God's gifts. With all your might emphasizes the urgency and intentionality we should live with. The teacher is not promoting hedonism, but holy enjoyment grounded in God's sovereignty. Okay, so that's important. And then, are we taking time to enjoy the people, the food, and work God has given us? Where are we rushing or wasting our life instead of living it intentionally? And what's something that we've been delaying that we could begin doing with all your might? So, and verses 11 through 12 is about life is unpredictable. And so we can observe in verse 11 that the race doesn't always go to the swift. Skill doesn't guarantee success. No one knows when disaster will strike. And so like a net that catches a fish or a bird that gets caught in a snare, same thing. It's just something so sudden. Death can just overtake us right like that. Life is not a formula. Effort and talent don't always bring predictable results. Time and chance, that is, God's providence, can disrupt the most strategic plans. And this isn't despair, but a reminder to stay humble and set apart and alert. So what we can learn from this is thinking through questions like, are we putting too much hope in our talent, in our effort, and in our planning? How can we plan wisely while still trusting God's control and outcome? Yeah, His control over the outcomes is God controls those outcomes. So, what unexpected changes have challenged us in faith recently? So, verses 13 through 18 is about the power and limits of wisdom. 13 through 15, we can observe, is a poor wise man saved a city from a great king, but no one remembered him. And wisdom in verse 16 is better than strength, but it's often ignored. And then And 17 through 18, quiet, wise words are better than a ruler's shouting, yet a single sinner can ruin much. So that means that wisdom can accomplish great things quietly, but it doesn't always get credit. The world often honors power and loud voices, quiet over the quiet righteousness. So still, wisdom remains more powerful than brute force, even if it's fragile. So, where in our lives can we choose quiet, humble wisdom over loud self-promotion? And then are we willing to do what's right even if no one notices? So pray for the courage to value wisdom over applause and faithfulness over fame. So pray for those things. Last point to wrap up this section is that there's some discussion questions we can think through. Is how, number one, how does the certainty of death impact your priorities right now? And number two, what part of your daily life could become more joyful if you saw it as a gift from God? And number three, what does it look like for you to live wisely and wholeheartedly today? So, with that being said, with those things, we can have a prayer focus. So if you're ever in this section and you want to pray about it, thank God for the gift of life and the simple joys that He gives us. And then confess areas where you've ignored His wisdom or you've delayed obedience. And then ask for grace to live purposefully in light of eternity. So yeah, that's my take on chapter 9. And so